All right. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Axelle Lemaire. Thank you, Quentin, Sannié. Thank you, Fred Potter. I'm very excited to have you here because we have so many French startups here at CES, and sometimes you wonder why there are so many French startups here. So we're going to find out why exactly French are pretty good at hardware startups, I would say, and some of the reasons behind it. Axelle Lemaire, you've been France's digital minister for a few years now. Have you seen a big change from when you started to now when it comes to French hardware startups?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Yes, clearly, entrepreneurs and startup creators in France are now the heroes of the modern world. One young person in two wants to create a company in the next 3 years in France. That is a real cultural change. And the government has been very supportive of that trend, not only because we believe that they create the economic value in the jobs of tomorrow, but also because it's the way, especially for the youngest people, to say that, well, we can't and we want to build our own future and not depend on people who used to not trust us. So there's also a kind of generational and social challenge behind that movement, and I think all in all it's very positive.
All right. Quentin, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Devialet and the speakers. You've raised a ton of money recently. How much money did you raise?
We raised 100 million euros.
100 million euros, wow.
Last round,
Yeah.
155.
As a
globally.
French company, did you find it hard to market a speaker to the US, for instance, when there are so many powerful American and Asian brands in this space?
When we set up the company in 2007, we launched the company as a global company. So we never consider Devialet as a French actor having to export the product abroad. So we considered from the start that we have to be global and we have to put our brand everywhere. And we began to sell our products in the US or in Japan or in UK before we sold it in France. So obviously when we arrived in the US, the country is so huge, it's very difficult to build the brand and to become familiar for the American consumer globally. So we focused on big cities in San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City. We just opened a store last month in Soho in New York City, and we are opening several stores in the US. We are also in the Apple stores. So it's a lot of things to achieve to start to be known in the US as everywhere, but it's everywhere difficult to build a brand when you want to make it global.
All right, yeah, it took years, but now you don't have any issue with that. Fred, some journalists call you the nest of France. How do you feel about that?
In fact, we have a dominant position on thermostat in many countries in Europe. So France, Italy, a strong position in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. So we are doing right. In the smart home, I think something really important is to have the best product. And Paris and France is a very nice place to develop products because you get good designers. Our thermostat has been designed by Philippe Starck. You have great mechanical engineer, electronicians, embedded software, cloud operation, lots of very talented people which used to work in the US, for some of them, in the Silicon Valley, which has been using French engineer for many, many, many years. And now they have the opportunity to work in a global company, which is based in Paris. And we have all the skill sets and all the know-how to develop those products. And this is what we do.
All right. Axelle Lemaire, I'm going to dive into a controversial topic, I would say. In 2016, many considered the year as the year of anti-immigration movements with Brexit and Donald Trump. Do you think it's something that could affect France as well with the presidential election coming up? And could it affect French startups as well when it comes to hiring foreign engineers, bringing foreign entrepreneurs to France?
I think you're right to ask a question because the key asset for a startup is people, actually. It's the capacity to hire the best talents, women and men who are ready to take more risks and often leave a comfortable job and salary and share the adventure of entrepreneurship. So in that context, preserving the capacity to hire people in the country but also coming from abroad is a key element for anyone who wants to help a startup ecosystem to grow. So I am concerned. The French government has put into place different programs to promote the French tech and the innovation ecosystem in France as an attractive one for foreign talents. I'll give you two examples. We launched the French Tech Ticket. It's a package which comes with a visa for the entrepreneur and his or her family with 45,000 euros with one single unique access to the administration for every kind of procedures regarding personal housing or children education, for example, to how to register the company, where to be hosted in an incubator, etc. That's proving to be very successful. We will be welcoming 200 entrepreneurs in January with the French president. The number one nationality of applicants is, guess, the United States. Many people applying from Russia, from China, from India, from Ukraine as well. Over 70 different nationalities willing to come to France to create a startup. That's one thing. Then we've also launched a new passport. It's called the Passeport Talent in French, Passport Talent, which is larger. It's a 5-year visa as well, but including artists, designers, creators, any people willing to add to the creativity of France. So in that context...
It's like the O1 visa in the US, basically.
Exactly. We have the presidential election coming in May. In the context of the Brexit, the election of Donald Trump, there will be a very strong political temptation coming from some parties to close down the borders and to promote a model of society which is closed. And I think one of the political battles to come will be between opening and closing of frontiers. The problem is that when we live in a digital world, when we want our country to be led by innovation, the capacity for people to move around, to travel together with their ideas is absolutely key if we want that type of economy to succeed. It would be completely counter-historic and paradoxical to let the goods and merchandises and data travel freely, but not the people. So clearly there might be a political divide on that issue in the months to come, but you know where my government sits on that question.
All right, message clearly heard. Do you agree with that, Quentin or Fred? Do you think it's easier when it comes to like bureaucratic issues such as like hiring foreigners or stuff like that?
We've been hiring foreigners since the inception of the company, and Netatmo is my third company. So we have always been hiring foreign talents. Yes, it's getting simpler. I don't believe that anything will change because our industry cannot work without foreign talents. I think we have probably a quarter or 30% of the employees are non-French. and I don't see that it is likely that it changes in the future.
Right, let's switch gear a bit and talk about manufacturing, because Devialet manufactures in France, if I'm correct, and Netatmo, it's mostly in China, right?
China, Italy, France, depending on the products. So
okay.
every time we need to build a product, we look at the required skill set, we look at the supply chain, and based on that, we make a rational decision on where to manufacture it. For instance, the product we have announced with Legrand is manufactured both in France and in Italy because there is a great industrial tool to do that. Our smoke detector is manufactured in France. Some of our products are manufactured in China, so it clearly depends.
Has it become easier to manufacture like outside of France?
Yeah, I think for the last 20 years, it's been the complexity has stayed the same, and we don't have any religion as when it comes from where you should manufacture. Clearly, it depends. So you need to look at where your parts are coming from, what skill sets do you need, what tools you need, and based on that you make a rational decision.
Let's play a tiny game of rapid fire questions. I'm going to ask you a few questions and you can answer in just a couple of words. What's your favorite startup right now? And you can't name your own company or each other's company, otherwise it doesn't work. Let's start. Who wants to start? Fred, maybe? Quentin, Axelle? Come on, give me names.
Very difficult for me in my position to quote one because there are
it's like your children.
178 French startups in Eureka Park. So if I quote one, there's 177
you don't want to
which
pick
will
your
be
favorite
upset.
child, basically.
I like Plume Lab a lot, also because they have environment at their heart and they're using open data to provide
track pollution. Yeah.
to track
I've
pollution.
covered them on TechCrunch. Let's move on. What's your favorite startup?
Maybe a BlaBlaCar.
It's a pretty common name for French entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
What about you, Fred?
Yeah, I have many names, but they are all stealth projects I have invested in. So
I don't have that problem,
Right.
bizarrely.
Yeah. What's the biggest trend and most interesting trend at CES, you think?
I think artificial intelligence is getting everywhere. We are doing lots of computer vision at Netatmo, and we have put
Do
computer.
you think French engineers are good at artificial intelligence?
Yeah, definitively. You need to be good in math to do that, and we've been good in math for many years. We have very talented mathematicians like Cédric Villani, who had the Fields Medal a few years ago, and this is a complete transformation of the objects, because the industry used to talk about IoTs, Internet of Things, but now things are not only connected, they're getting smart, they're making decisions, and this is clearly a big change, especially in the smart home, to be more efficient and have a better comfort.
Definitely. AI. What about you? Do you think AI?
The smart home hub, such as Google Home or Alexa, Echo, these products are very interesting for us. And the battle between the operators and this company to be the center of the living room, it's very interesting. And considering the audio part of this, it's interesting. But also what's appearing in the automotive is very, very important. This market is changing a lot. So automotive, the future of automotive, autonomous, electric, connected, is certainly a major move.
Yeah, sure. What do you think?
You said it, IoT, autonomous cars, cybersecurity, but I would say what is, to me, very new is artificial intelligence. I was passionate about the interview that Barack Obama gave to Wired a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And then I started reading about the US National Strategy on Artificial Intelligence last summer, and then this autumn, and then the last report a couple of days ago. And I just thought to myself, I realized there's a French school of artificial intelligence, just as there's a French school of economy. And that school is mainly based in Toulouse and in Paris. Well, it's the same with artificial intelligence. And the mathematicians behind them do not necessarily share the same views than the scientists based in the US. Very interesting, the debates going on at the moment between is it only applicative with machine learning, or is it just more like what Alan Turing was had it in view back in 1950. And so we started identifying all the people in France working on artificial intelligence. It's over 4,000 of them, both in the public and private sector. So we're now drafting our own national strategy, and we'll make sure that the public investments that are dedicated of technologies of the future will be fueled towards helping projects in IA.
All right, you're not really good at answering rapid-fire questions. I said
All
just
right.
a couple of words.
Politicians are not good at
All right,
answering. Right?
the next one is pretty easy. What's your favorite cheese in one word?
Roquefort.
Roquefort,
The same. A camembert.
Camembert,
Comté.
Comté.
So we are very French.
Yeah, I kind of miss cheese here in
You,
Vegas.
you could not have had the same answer for all three of us.
If you had to start a company tomorrow, where would you start it? In France or elsewhere? For the three of you.
I love to live in Paris, so
France.
certainly in Paris, yes.
Axelle?
In France, but probably not in Paris, because I don't like to live in Paris.
Oh, that's a shame.
But I have the choice between the Alps, you know, the Mediterranean Sea, the Bordeaux region, or the north of France with lots of space. So there's plenty of choice.
Fred, would you do
Yeah,
it?
definitively Paris.
Cool. In one word, who is going to be France's next president? Yeah.
François Fillon.
The winner of the election.
I have no clue, really. I can
Uh-huh.
tell you who I do not want it to be.
I think we know the names. Let's move on. So you mentioned a bit the French engineering schools and how we can find many good French engineers working in AI. Do you think it's one of the reasons why hardware startups are doing so well in France? Because we have such a general education, learning about robotics and math and computer science, and not just computer science, for instance?
I think if you look back, it clearly has to do with what happened during the deregulation of the telecommunication back at the end of the 90s, where the first hardware startup in France was Free.
Founded by Xavier Niel.
Yeah, the ADSL operator who decided to create an hardware product and not go and buy it on shelf. And they had lots of suppliers, including a company I was running there, and it created an ecosystem of guys making hardware to have a differentiating factor on the market.
Axelle Lemaire, now that the presidential election is coming up, let's look back for a minute about La French Tech, the government-backed initiative. After 3 years, I think, do you think it's a good initiative?
I think it would be best to ask the entrepreneurs. Has it helped them? And I believe that the answer is yes. It's not a top-down governmental program. It's just a way of telling these people, you do count, tell us what your needs are. And then from there, we invested in order to help fund the startups that were really in need of some fresh money. And we passed many different legislations to help the ecosystem grow. I think it's a success if I look at the number of startups present here. It's 4 times higher than 3 years ago. And it's just the reflection of what's happening in France at the moment. I think it's a success if I look at the amount of capital investment flowing into French startups at the moment. The increase is 100% every year, and the trend is extremely positive when in the rest of Europe it's declining. So between last year and this year, for the last trimester of the year, there's just for one trimester another increase of 30% in the amount of capital money being put in French startups based in France. So to me, that is a sign that really Paris is now right behind London today in the race to being the number one top European nation for startups in Europe, and we want to be on the podium at the international level.
Cool. So let's ask the entrepreneurs here. Do you agree? Do you think that French tech was a good thing?
Yeah, yes. In fact, what deeply changed in France since a few years is the image of the entrepreneurs. I have been an entrepreneur for 25 years, so I know that the image now, it's completely different in the administration, but globally in the public. Now it's very trendy to be an entrepreneur in Paris, but naturally the French people are very keen of innovation. They love to be disruptive. They love to invent the new trend. They in fashion, in design, or everything. So the people are really entrepreneurs. And now the global image of entrepreneur is better, and the French tech did a lot for that. I think it's for the first time, the government understood what an entrepreneur is. Globally, an entrepreneur is someone who is dreaming to invent a future. And I believe that people like you are in the same vision when you are entering politics, I guess.
All right, that's like a love declaration on stage. Thank you very much. That's all the time we have. Thank you.
Thank you.